Good evening and welcome to a very special edition of Every Student Every Day, which will kind of mimic the State of the Schools address with Dr. Parrott here. A week ago, I reached out to everyone with regard to questions that they might have for our Director of Schools, and we're going to address each one of those questions today. We got a lot of the same questions from folks, so I'll kind of summarize the different aspects of those when I asked Dr. Parrott. But thank you very much, Dr. Parrott, for coming in and answering these questions for us and stuff. So we're going to jump right in. One of the most common questions we had is COVID-19. You know, it's been something that's affected us, I believe, for 3 school years. It's had a part in 3 of our school years now. At what point here, what are we doing to help in our schools to stop that spread this year?
Right. Well, I first of all, I am glad to be here, and hopefully we will answer a lot of the questions that we had. But I think COVID is something that you hate to say it, but we're learning to live with it. Every week the CDC comes down with a different recommendation. We went from 15 days down to 11 days to 10 days, and now we're at 5 days. And I think the one thing that Anderson County has done since the beginning, our schools, we do extra cleaning in our schools. We have the INI systems in our schools that clean the air all the time. We do have, a lot of our schools are still using the shields up. One of the great things we do is, we have a nurse in every school. So those are the things. I really want to thank the parents for working with us. We want to do our best to keep students in school, but when a student is positive or a student has symptoms, we really need those students to stay home, and parents have done an amazing job on that to make sure we can lower that risk of other students getting that.
Yeah. Now, we are offering as a district testing for all students and staff members as well, correct?
Yes, we do. We offer testing 5 days a week at CRCS. They can just come by, stay in their car, and they get tested. We're like everybody else right now. We're running low on our PCR testing. We have the capability to do that within 30 minutes, but we have the rapid test, and then we still are sending those tests off. But Catherine and her nurses are doing an amazing job on that, and I think that really helps a lot. If I can kind of put things in perspective about how this last COVID is, at no time, usually in our school, we had between, during the 9 weeks, maybe 300 to 400 cases at the most. Mm-hmm. In the month of January, we had over 1,100 cases. Mm-hmm. And so that was one of our main reasons for canceling school for a whole week. It just wasn't an option to be in school. It wouldn't have been a safe environment to have instruction or to have students in that environment.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed as I was watching the numbers through the last month is that it appears in a school and it hits that school really hard for 5 to 10 days, and then it kind of goes to another school. So we see pockets of that. It's very very interesting to see how the illness affects one location where it's spread, and then it doesn't hit as hard for the next couple of weeks on that.
Yes.
One of the other questions that we have is, why do we not have a mask mandate in Anderson County?
Yeah. So back in October, the state legislators, they got together and they passed some new laws and regulation. And one is that the only way we could do a mask mandate is we had to meet a certain threshold. It couldn't be done countywide. It only had to be done school by school, and the students would have had to wear N95 masks. We would have had to got them fitted and everything like that. So it really, the legislators put all these things in line to say, hey, don't do a mask mandate. Now, we still have a lot of students and staff that are wearing masks. When I'm out in the schools and around a lot of people, you'll see me still wearing a mask. But I think for the most part, I'm not sure how much the cloth masks are doing right now, because with this Omicron, I think that's the way you pronounce it, it's just spreading so fast. And The good thing about it is students are not getting that sick, but anytime a student's sick, it's a hard thing to do and have to work on that. But yeah, that was one of our main reasons to look at that, and they kind of tied our hands on that.
Yeah, they sure did. They sure did. So is contact tracing still happening is another question I kept seeing.
Yes, we are still doing contact tracing. As you know, it's now it's 6 feet within 30 minutes or 15 minutes. There's different things. Like I say, the CDC changes that the recommendations sometimes on a weekly basis, and sometimes we don't even know about it till we see it in the paper and things like that. But I think yes, the contact tracing is still doing. We're doing it in Anderson County. Even with that new legislation, we can recommend it. We can't.
Enforce?
Yeah, we can enforce it. I guess that's the right word. We want to recommend and what's best for the student, but enforcing it's a different thing. That can only be done through the health department.
Right, right.
Yes.
This was probably the most popular question when I reached out to everyone for the questions to ask you. Is there any plan of going virtual? And I know there are state requirements, but I'm not sure what those are as to how long we can actually do that. Are there any plans for that?
There are no plans to go virtual. We know that face-to-face instruction is the best instruction you can have. We do know, though, that we've had a lot of students and teachers and staff out, and what we want to make sure is we do everything we can to make sure those students are caught up. But even with that same legislation says we can write a waiver to do school by school to go virtual. But again, if we can have students in school and do it safe, it's the best place for them. And at this point, I see no need to go virtual.
Okay. Yeah. Also, one of the things that has hit the media here lately, and I've gotten a lot of questions about this, is the substitute shortage that's happening in our schools. And I believe that's probably due to the availability of other jobs in our community, as well as how does Anderson County do subs? How do substitutes get more money? Are there any incentives for substitutes to work in Anderson County?
3 years ago, the board approved for us to kind of outsource our substitutes. We work with a company called ESS, and so the substitutes are employees of ESS. So our teachers or anybody that needs to put in for a substitute, they put it in. We have a program that does that. That program automatically calls those subs and gets those lined up. And we have a person, Megan's her name, we have a person that is totally dedicated to Anderson County Schools to make sure we can move people around where they need to be. With ESS, what is allowed us to do also is to put permanent subs in a lot of our schools. Like, for instance, Clinton High School, they have 3 permanent subs that they're there every day, because we know with a staff of over 100 staff members, pretty much every day you're going to have 3 people that are out for one thing or other. Professional development, they're sick, their child is sick, things like that. So it allows us to already have them on site to take care of that. If there's a time where there's not 3 people out, then Megan, she'll move that substitute to another school. What we have seen in our data is that more people are out on Friday. And so, again, the board approved last year to where we can offer an incentive, more money for substitutes to work on Friday. Okay. And so the fill rate is not good right now. We fill about 60% of our open slots, but some of those are assistants, and some of them are the hard ones to fill are assistants, custodians, cafeteria workers, things like that. Most of the time we can fill almost all of our classes, and also in doing that, our teachers and our assistants, they have been so great of going into a classroom during their planning period and watching a class, or just going in there all day and being that substitute teacher, because they already know the students and things like that. So it has been hard, but it's not really been as hard on us as it has some people. Now, again, that week that we were closed in early January, probably over 50% of our substitutes had COVID too. Yeah. So it was like how do we do it, and how do we do it safely?
Yeah, it was
So,
lose-lose.
yep. So I think that's one of the things that somebody had asked a question about. Would we look at sourcing out other things? And I think that no. I think our board is. We want our employees to be there. Again, this one came back to when they changed a lot of the laws. If a person worked over so many hours, then they had to have full-time benefits. They had to have insurance and all of those things. And we couldn't do that with our substitutes, but this ESS, they can do that. They can be full-time with them.
Because we have retired teachers
Yes.
that come and sub for us.
Yeah.
Too.
Another great thing about ESS, which sometimes it hurts them, is we hire a lot of the substitutes to fill positions because it's like on-the-job interview. So you get a real good substitute. They're wanting to come into Anderson County, and they're doing a great job. There's a classified position open, or there's teaching. We have teachers that are just not teaching right now. They're certified teachers. They say, hey, I've been at this school. I really like this school. I'd like to go to work there. So for anybody that is watching and wants to be a sub, please look on our website and look for ESS and sign up. We have a lot of parents that they are substitutes in their schools, and they do a great job. So anything they can do to help, we appreciate it.
And that's very important every day to have those subs there on those days that teachers are either on leave for an illness or professional leave. So we need all those that we can have. One of the biggest projects that we have that we're looking at right now is our Claxton Elementary project. And recently we reached out to the parents in Claxton as well as the community in Claxton for feedback with regards to the new school. Can you tell us where we're at in that process? Where's the school going to be was one of the other questions.
Well, I think that back probably 6 months ago, 9 months ago, when our government in Washington, they were looking, I think it was the rescue plan. They've called them so many things, Build Back Better. I don't know what it was. Anyway, they had almost $50 billion. There was a lot of money in there for infrastructure for our school system. And the money had to be used in there was a time limit on it and things like that. So we were really excited about it. We had the school system has a 5-year plan, and on the 5-year plan, there's a plan to redo, to completely rebuild Claxton Elementary School. And so we really accelerated that process and tried to get some things on the ground and get them going and things like that. And then at the last minute, Congress took all that money out. But that didn't mean our 5-year plan changed. It kind of just slowed down a little bit. So, yes, we did send out a survey. We have a board retreat at the middle of February, and I'm going to be bringing those all the data to them and see what they want to, they want the information. And I think there was a lot of good information with that. Plans are still going forward. Again, that's the school board's time table and things like that. But we would really, sometime early 22, late 22, early 23, we would really like to see us break ground on a new school. If we can kind of get the funding and everything in place, we want to do that. And we don't want to ask we don't want to ask county commission to raise taxes and everything like that. We want to do it within our own budget. So those are some things we still have to work out. The school right now, it's just, again, it's in the planning stages. We're going to take all of the comments that we got from the community. We're going to kind of put it together and work with an architect and come up with some rough drawings of what people wanted in the school and things like that. Then hopefully the next month or two, we'll be able to have a town hall meeting so we can go together for the first time and say, okay, here's kind of what we're looking at. Here's where the school would sit. Again, we want to set it in the same place, but we have to really remember that we will be building a new school and still having school on the same site. Yeah. So it's not like you just go to another place and do it. We're hoping that TVA gets involved in it. Mayor Frank has reached out to them and reached out to the University of Tennessee and the national labs, and we really want to make that a STEM academy. Yeah. That's kind of where we're at, and hopefully it will be, my dream would it to be a net zero, to where we have we have solar panels, we have a lot of the infrastructure that the carbon footprint, and everything. It's a smaller carbon footprint and things like that. But we want to also make it something that the community can be proud of, something the community can use. Somebody had asked about the gym there, because Claxton is one of our older schools that's been kind of pieced together over the years, and it's got 4 different buildings on it. So it's really that campus, it's hard to keep, you have to go outside all the time. So we're looking at having a school under one roof. The gym that there now will stay, but there'll still be, the plans would be to have a gym in the school also, and things like that. So I think it's something that's long overdue for Claxton. A lot of our other schools are in great shape, and we continue to do those, but that school, again, it's just hard to keep it updated. Not saying it's a bad school now. Our maintenance does a great job on that. Their custodians, everything. So the school's clean, it's functional, it's safe. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just need a new one.
Yeah, I walked through Claxton with Jennifer Coleman, the principal there, last year, and we discussed some of the things in preparation for the new school. And some of it was with concerns of accessibility to certain areas of the schools, having to go outside and weather. There's just some things, like you said, that are older. There's some portions of that building that were built a very long time ago, 80 to 100 years ago. So there's different aged buildings there. So you're right, long overdue, going to be an exciting project for us, especially with the net zero possibilities.
Exactly.
There.
Well, and there's a lot of, if you've been to Claxton lately, you have to go down the stairs to get to the cafeteria. You've got to go outside to get to the first grade building. You've got to go on up from other stairs. So you're exactly right. The accessibility is really a problem. And that, if you know Claxton, there is plans to build a 4-lane from the intersection all the way to Pellissippi Parkway. So, it's a great time right now for us to get to where you're looking at how the parents can move in and out of the school safely and things like that. So all of that stuff will be in discussion, and we hope, like I say, is if everything works out and the board approves it, I would love to be sitting here next year this time and say we've broke ground on a new school.
Yeah, it'd be exciting for that community.
Yes.
Another project that we have going right now, I received a couple of questions about, was the softball field at Clinton High School. And I drove by it an hour ago. It's definitely making progress. But how is the supply chain, how is labor, weather, everything affecting the construction of that now?
I think anything that could affect that softball field's affected it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like it's hard to get people to actually bid to do things. We try to piecemeal it to make sure we could do it in a faster sense. The weather has just not cooperated with us. And the thing about it is everything's in place. The irrigation's in, the fence posts are in, but we can't do that till the lighting gets up. The lighting, we had it was scheduled for the 1st of January, and here it is the first week in February, and we're not going to get it this week because it's going to rain, because you can't get those big trucks out there and everything else. So I think that Nate and Coach Sims and everything working together, I think it's going to be a great project. And our thing is, I was talking to a parent yesterday, and I said, nobody wants that field completed more than I do. For people that don't know, I'm a Clinton graduate. I'm a 79 graduate. I love Clinton. I've lived in this community all my life. And I think that for the first time we would have something on our campus. But again, we want to do it right. So they will be practicing. Nate's working with the city of Clinton, and we'd kind of thought about these things. You always have to have a contingency plan. And they will be starting their practice at Lakefront. We'll probably play some games there. It doesn't mean we're slowing down on the new field, but again, all the POs are there for turf, for the infield, for lights, for sod, for the bleachers. All of that stuff's there. It's just that when we get it, when it comes in and things like that.
Well, we sat here a few months ago and spoke about the turf at Clinton High School, and one of the things you emphasized there was we want to do it right and we don't want to rush it. And I think hearing what you're saying and looking at it, it sounds like we just want to do the project properly in Anderson County to make sure it's something that lasts a very long time.
Exactly right. You only have so much money to do things, so you can't do them twice. And you're exactly right. Like the football field, there's new lights there, there's new turf. At Anderson County High School, we just got through redoing the auditorium. You know, you don't get to redo them, but every 30 years, and you want to make sure they're doing right. They're working on a softball hitting facility up there right now, things like that. You know, we've got some bleachers that need to be replaced and things like that. One of the other things we're working with is a new energy project called ESG. We've done 2 programs with them before, and we're really going to look at changing the face of Norse Elementary School, Lake City Middle School, Lake City Elementary School, and Norwood, putting in some more energy efficient HVAC units, putting in some new windows, really upgrading the front of the school, things like that. Really and truly, probably Norse Elementary School will be the one you will see the most transformation, because it will go from a kind of a metal outside to a brick and things like that. So all of those things, and we're actually putting in more of our ionized systems. There were some places that in our hallways and in our big places like auditoriums and gyms and places like that we didn't have enough of those. So that's part of that project. And all of that's about a $5 million project that comes from our ESSER funds. Yes. You know, the funds from our that the federal government has sent us.
Speaking of the federal government and what's happened through COVID, one of the things that I've seen in the media, and I believe an employee asked this specific question, was 10% raise or 10%, 10% raise in cost of everything now is on average what's happened. What is Anderson County Schools, what is Anderson County doing to combat that, to help us with that extra money to catch up with that? Yeah. I know we're confined by government budgets and our budget cycle, but what are we doing with our collaborative conferencing and stuff to adapt to that?
I think the one thing people probably don't realize is about 80% of our cost in education is personnel, you know, our personnel. And so when we look at those things, people don't realize how much of that budget, how many millions and millions of dollars. So when we look at a 2% raise in Anderson County, the school board's never going to give teachers a raise without getting classified a raise, and that custodians, nurses, everybody like that. So when you look at that, a 2% raise is right at $1 million. So we don't just have millions of dollars laying around. Now, most of them get step raises every year, and we've always funded step raises. The school board, again, is looking at adding some more step raises to our classified. But last year was a good year. We got money from, we had a good year from County Commission, and we got money from the state. And so everybody last year got a 4% pay raise. In January of that last year, they got a 2%. So if you look, do we need more? Yes. Are we looking at that? Again, the governor just did his state of the state, and he's put $125 million into teacher salaries. The way I've got that figured, that comes up to about 1.5%. Okay. I'm hoping, and we've already been in contact with Ms. Minton, our Director of Finance. Hopefully we can do a 2% raise again this year on our certified and classified. Maybe we can do some other things, but I think that we really have to look at those things. I mean, we want our people to make a good living wage. We want to make sure that, but on the other hand, I also have to say, okay, we can't do something like that and then we want to have 25 and 30 kids overcrowding a classroom, or we don't have money to put a roof on. We have to put roofs. We've got over 20 buildings, and we have to replace roofs every year. So those are things that when we really look at the budget, it is really a complex budget. But our board is always eager to where we can get those things. We don't want to do that and come to county commission and say, hey, will you give us 4 or 5 cents on the tax rate and give raises? Those things we've done it before, but we want to be frugal with the funds we have. Yeah. So we have to. State law says we have to have a balanced budget. I could say we're going to get $5 more million in sales tax and go ahead and give that money away, but at the end of the year, if it's not there, then I'm the one that goes to jail.
That would not be a good. That would not be a good day.
Exactly. But that is our first priority, to look at making sure, first of all, we're staffed well, and then how can we give them more things. And a lot of it is money, but we've talked about, I know there was a question, I may be getting ahead of myself, we're looking at the possibility of opening up a free clinic for our staff and their families, to where they could come and they could get, they could be seen by the doctor, they could get free medicine at some things. But you're looking at that's a $450,000 to almost $500,000 investment per year, and we've got to see where do we take this to put it in here, because you don't want to have a free clinic one year and then the next year you say, oh, we can't afford it anymore.
Sure.
And insurance is really high. I think the way the state, there's going to be a rate increase. There's one every year. We just, at this time it could be 5 or 6%. We don't know yet. But I think we always have to look at those things. And I think raising our classified salaries is a real need in our county, to make sure that they have a living wage. So all those things take into account.
Yeah. You did jump, but I think that's great because it segued great with what we talked about the cost of living going up. Recently, in one of the leadership meetings in Anderson County schools, you asked to survey our employees to see what was important to them, to see if they felt supported, because of an effort to adapt to those. What is important to an Anderson County Schools employee, whether you are a teacher, a principal, a nutrition worker, a custodian, you wanted to see what the different things are. You're gathering focus groups there to learn about what's important to more adapt to this?
So we always want to know what's going on. We always want to know, there's a book out there called Good to Great, and we can always be better. And so trying to find out where people say boots on the ground. We want to know what our employees want, what they need, what's important to them. So we did. We sent a survey out to all of our staff, and we asked a few questions. Why did you come to Anderson County? Mm-hmm. What keeps you in Anderson County? What's important to you as a employee of Anderson County? And we got, I think, well over 50% of our staff completed that survey. Yeah. And another one was, do you feel supported? Because teaching school is a hard job. And I think that if you don't feel supported and you don't feel like somebody's got your back, it makes it that much tougher. So in doing that, we found out that, people like Anderson County Schools. Mm-hmm. They come here because of the culture. They come here because it's a family atmosphere. They come here and because they're supportive. And they come here because we listen to them. We have things, some of them like the schedule we have. Some of them like the way we do our PLCs on Wednesday, mm-hmm. the way we train our teachers and things like that. And it was amazing. Culture was way up here. The culture in the county is important to us. And then money was actually third on the list. Oh, okay. And so money is important because you have to have money to live on anything. But I think it shows that we can do other things, even though we can't just say, well, we can't give them a raise, there's nothing else we can do. Mm-hmm. Well, there's always something else you can do, So I think that it's good. That was our initial data. Now I've got a lot of people going out, and they're going to do focus groups with elementary, middle, and high custodians, secretaries, and things like that. And they're going to really dig down into those questions and say, okay, how can we do a better job of supporting you, and how can we recruit the best people to Anderson County? Because it is, you want to recruit I want to have the best teachers in the classroom.
Sure.
And so we need to figure out how can we do things to better recruit those teachers.
Yeah, and you spoke about the clinic, and the possibilities. There were some questions. There were some questions when the survey came out, and questions on this. I did a little research, asked some questions to some folks that have been looking at this. One of the big things is it might decrease our insurance premiums for our employees, which let's say this was a specific question I asked. So say I had maybe a lingering sinus infection, I needed antibiotics. That's a visit that I could go see this clinic and not have to pay a copay.
Exactly.
And then they could fill my prescription there. Yep. So that's a service that I learned about. It was, I think, either one time $300 raise or a bonus, however you look at it.
We're trying to figure out, because what we want to do is we want to put it in the budget where it's there from now on. So you can't just say, the money will get there. So that's kind of where we're looking at. If instead of giving a 2% raise 1 year, you give a 1 3/4% raise, and that takes, instead of $1 million, that takes $700,000. So that gives you that $300,000. Yeah. And you only lose that one time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You would gain it back going forward. But the other thing too is a lot of our staff and they may not have insurance, or they may have our insurance that's a high copay. So when they go to the doctor, it's $40, $50. Well, this way they don't have to pay that $50. They just go in; it's free. Again, a lot of times you get sick, you need a Z-Pack. They were saying, let's give them a Z-Pack and they move on. Yeah. And I think a lot of those things that a lot of the times what happens is, well, I can probably just get over this. I've just got a cold or something. And then 3 days later, we're really sick, and now we have to either go to the hospital or we're going to take 2 or 3 days off. So with this, they could go ahead and run to the clinic, get it taken care of. There's no appointment. You just run in, and especially with their children too, And it wouldn't matter if they had insurance or not. So we've got another meeting set up in March to talk to. There's a couple of companies out there that take care of this and do this, and doesn't mean you can't go to your primary doctor or you have insurance. We're not messing with anything about that. It's over here, and your insurance and your family doctor, they're still over here on this side.
I think personally that's exciting. Excuse me. It's hard to get into a doctor now, especially with COVID. So it'd be very, very nice to have that service. Yep. One of the focuses I've seen in Anderson County over the last 3 years has been mental health. There were some questions with what is going on with mental health, as far as we've seen some positions added in Anderson County. What are those folks doing? What are some of the projects that they're doing? And will those services ever be offered to family? And I believe we kind of already do in a way with our Family Resource Center.
Yeah, Family Resource. We have to look at the total child, and that means that's part of it. That the academics is one part of it, the physical is one part of it, the nutrition's one part of it, and the mental health's one part of it. Sure. And which is counselors, and our counselors do a great job, but there's so much stuff that they're really not trained to do, or they just don't have time to do. So about 2-3 years ago, we started really looking at how can we put people in places that can help with that. And we started with a grant. We had a grant through our Aware grant. Yeah. Yep, the name went right out the window. We had an Aware grant, so we hired some social workers. I think at the time we hired 4. And so we figured out how to, once that grant was over, how to keep them in the budget. And they go out there at different schools. And then we really seen even a deeper need with that to work with some mental health facilities like Cherokee and to hire people where they could come in, counselors could come in, mental health therapists could come in. And then even more than that, we said, hey, we really need somebody in our county that's their main focus. Because here's the thing, we had a meeting this morning with some assistant principals, and we don't want a student to suffer in silence. Right. We want to make sure that if that student's having a problem, there's somebody there, there's a friendly face there that can talk to them, and I think that's where these mental health therapists are coming into play. We don't have full-time ones in every school, but we have them where they cover. And Jordan Wally, he's kind of our mental health specialist. He's doing amazing work out there. He's putting everything together, like doing threat assessments and things like that. And I think that, or where we need to be, no, but we're a lot better than we were. I asked my principals, we do a mid-year conference every year with all of them, and that was one of my specific questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, how are we doing with mental health this year? And last year where we were at a 3, this year we're at a 6 and a 7.
That's great.
So we've really made some improvements. Again, I think the COVID and the pandemic, it is really, especially middle school students, because they were really trying to find themselves, and we just locked everything down. And high school students, it doesn't matter, pandemic, hurricane, they're still going to run the roads. I mean, that's just part of it. In elementary, they didn't even know any different. But I think those middle school, and this year we've done a better job of that. Again, in my job, the safety of our students is first priority. And that safety comes with their mental health, what's happening at home, what's happening in school. Do we catch everything? No, but we have to be vigilant at it.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that there were 2 parents that asked this specific question: why can medication not be carried on a person? Why can their allergy pill? Why can their antibiotics not be carried on person? And I asked you this question beforehand because I didn't know the answer to it, and wanted to make sure I was kind of going down the right path. So tell us why, and tell us what kinds of medication with a doctor's order can be carried with the student.
So the reason being that is, one, we have there's state law and state board policy, and we have board policy that says that we're not the medical professionals. we have now, which is great. We have a nurse in every school. But we can administer medication to a student as long as the parent brings in the medicine in an open bottle. It's got their prescription on it, and we have doctor's orders. Now, even with that, we have some that in emergency cases that have doctor's orders that a student could carry an EpiPen on them, they could carry a inhaler on them, and certain things like that. So I think those are on individual cases. If a student has a really medical, they're fragile, we can do a 504 plan for them, and they might be a different medication that they had on them. If one of them had heart attacks or something like, they may be. So that always worked out through the 504 plan and through our medical, through their doctor. But I think the other thing is, we just don't want kids carrying pills with them.
Right.
If you've ever been into a middle school and a high school, if one person has a drink, they may be 6 people drink after that person. They don't see any difference with it. Here, let me have a drink here. And it would be the same way. Hey, I've got an aspirin, I'll give it to you. And we don't know if that student's allergic to aspirin or stuff like that. So we want, again, safety is our first priority. And our nurses do a great job of making sure diabetics, the diabetes, if you have diabetes and things like that, that they work through the doctors with those orders.
And they have schedules too. I've seen them do
Yes.
that. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Another question, strange, nonetheless, but was about our milk. Why do we use a certain kind of milk in Anderson County? What's the process of getting milk for us? How does that work?
Right. So anything in Anderson County that we purchase that's above a certain threshold, which in Anderson County is $20,000, it has to be bid. And so every year we have to bid our milk out. And, we've had Mayfields, I think, for the last 5 or 6 years. And most people like Mayfield, some don't. My father-in-law, he's he wouldn't drink anything else but Mayfield, And so I think that's one of the things. And the milk has to come in a certain size. It has to be under. There's so many regulations. It can't be set outside. It has to stay at a certain temperature and all those things. So there's not a lot of people that won't even bid on that, and they have to put their own coolers in the cafeterias and things like that. So it is a bid process, and usually maybe one. Sometimes we don't have anybody bid on things like that because we are so small.
Sure. Yeah. So we're kind of bound by the agreement.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yep. and we bid that, and sometimes you can bid it and do like a 3 to 4 year renewal. So you renew it every year, so you don't have to worry about changing companies every year or two. You can go 4 years without that. But Ms. Burrell, we have had some companies that didn't fulfill their requirements in the bid, and we've cut them off. We've done away with that bid and moved on to somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. Keeping with the cafeteria questions and some things we had with regards to questions about food and how food is in our cafeteria now. I've had talks with Ms. Burrell as well, who is our nutrition director and food service director, about supply chain issues and how it's very difficult to get certain types of food, how when she orders a certain type of food, she may only get 50% of that food. Some of the menu items that are said to be on the menu that day may not be on the menu that day. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's going on in our cafeterias, nutrition requirements, so on like that, why it's kind of in a rough spot now?
So if you look at things with food, pretty much the first priority with all these people that are selling food are grocery stores, because that's where they make their most of the money. That next tier is restaurants and big facilities and things like that. Mm-hmm. Schools are way down the list. So all of this stuff, there's only so much of it goes around. And again, these people bid on these food items, and the cost is, the markup's very low because they have to stay within the federal guidelines. And you're exactly right. She may order 500 different things, and the trucks come on Thursday and they say, we only had 200 of what you ordered. Right. And so what they have to do is they still have to meet federal guidelines for that meal. So it may be the meals look kind of wonky right now because you still have to have enough nutrition, you have to have a fruit, you have to have a vegetable, you have to have all these things. And it's whatever we have right now. And you're exactly right. That's supply chain is just, it's rough on us right now.
Yeah, I've talked to Ms. Burrell about it many times. The media has come to me and asked me questions, and they're doing a great job with that. It's tough. I know she loses sleep over it, not being able to get a certain item or something. So I'm thankful for what they do for our students every day and the effort they put forth to making sure that we meet those requirements and have those things.
And the good thing about it right now is every student in Anderson County eats breakfast and lunch free.
Yeah.
And I think that if anything good comes out of this pandemic, I think that's something we need to keep.
Yeah.
I think when students come to school, they need to have 2 hot meals, and they don't need to have to pay for them.
Right. Fantastic. With the growing, this was a question, with the growing wrestling program at Anderson County High School and their recent success, I believe they're 5-time district champions now in a row.
5 times.
Yeah, that's impressive. There is a question with regards to facility for that team, where they don't have to roll mats out. Of course, their season is at the same time basketball is, so they can't roll their mats out on the floor on most days. It's the same time as kind of preseason for softball. What is Anderson County doing to kind of meet the needs of those athletes at Anderson County High School in the upcoming few years?
So the wrestling coach and Mr. Downs and Mr. Terry and everybody, that was one of their requests because, again, like you say, that gym, you only have one gym. And you're trying to get girls basketball, boys basketball, you got softball, you've got wrestling, you've got all those things, and there's not enough room. So what they asked and what the board approved was that we could move softball out of the gym. They have the upper area of the gym, and put a facility at their field, and then that would allow us to open up that whole top area. So because wrestling was on the backside, but every time you push the bleachers in and out, you had to roll everything up. Yeah. So that will really expand their program to where they can do it. They'll still have, to bring the mats down when they have their tournaments and things like that. But that's not as bad as having to roll them up every day and moving things around and stuff like that. They can secure them there. So it is, I think, again, what people don't realize in Anderson County is what activities we do have. Not just with athletics, but with other things. And I know we may hit on those a little later, but we started in our elementary schools, we started a basketball program. Yes, yeah. Last year we didn't do it because of COVID. This year we did it. For the first time, our elementaries, you have an athletic director on 2 athletic directors. We call them the schools that transition into Clinton High School is one of them. If they transition into Anderson County is another one. They're looking at putting together a track team, looking to put together some soccer teams, some things like that. So all of those things are in progress. We want to make sure that I'll do a kind of a shout out to E.T. Stamian. We know E.T.'s had a stroke, and we hope that he gets better real soon. We're all praying for him, and Clinton City and they've really embraced what, trying to help him and things like that. But E.T. was a big proponent of getting kids active early, and done a great job with the Blaze and kind of bled into Anderson County schools. And I don't think we'll do it on that big a scale, but I think we need kids to be able to do something. We want to be part of a team. We want to be part of something bigger than they are. Yeah. And I think that starts in elementary school.
Yeah. It's exciting. I followed the elementary school basketball league, and I believe Norris Elementary won the championship this year. And,
yeah.
And they had a big event in their gym, which was just real fun. The kids cheered them on and stuff. It was really fun to watch. Looking forward to the winners of some things here. There was a recent 4-H contest. We had some winners in. And what other activities have we seen some success in lately?
Well, like you said, the wrestling at Anderson County, I think they're 5-time district champs.
Yeah.
The football at Anderson County did a great job. I think it's either 4 or 5 times that they've won.
Yeah.
The region. And Clinton High School right now is having a great time. Basketball, their girls and boys both are amazing. I think both of them are going to have runs to the state this year.
Yeah. Sarah Burton is almost at 2,000 points, which is exciting.
It is.
Both district champions this year, both the Dragons, boys and girls. So great success happening on that side. I saw recently on social media that ACCTC in their TSA competitions kind of dominated.
Yes.
They dominated here lately. So that's some exciting success as well.
Well, and like you say, is our elementary, we do 4-H in elementary school. We have FFA contest in high school. The mock trial team. You've got the debate team. You've got all of these things. There's do a shout out to the esports teams.
Absolutely.
They do a great job, and you have to have different things. I go back to even with academics. In high school we have AP courses, we have dual enrollment courses, we have honors courses, we have middle college, we have AP, we have all of these things, we have CTE courses, all of those things, because every student is not the same. But we want to make sure, again, we go back to our mission, when they graduate, we want to make sure they can be successful whatever they do. And I think that is a testament to the staff and the teachers and the direction of Anderson County Schools that they can do that. Now, there's some things we can't do, but if there's a way we can do it, we're going to do it.
Yeah. Something that I've seen recently, brand new ACS.AC website, which is exciting.
Yes.
Along with the Anderson County app.
Got an app.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
we're getting up in the world.
Yeah, so go to the App Store, download the Anderson County Schools TN app. And we recently, something that I'm a part of is the mass communications update. Which we changed our provider from Blackboard now to eNotes Notify, and we're working through those kinks. with the numbers and all that, but we've added texting, which is exciting for people because texting is way of life.
It is a way of life.
And it's very fast for folks. So the importance of updating information in Skyward for parents.
We want to make sure. Last week, the week we came back from being out of school week, I seen some people on Facebook. They were talking about, well, I wonder if we'll be in Anderson County. I wonder if school will be open tomorrow. I wonder if this. I wonder if that. And some person come on there. They said, listen, if you can believe that if Anderson County is not in school, you're going to get an email, you're going to get a text, you're going to get a phone call. It's going to be on social media. They will let you know.
Yes.
But if they don't say anything, we're going to have school. And I think that we want to make sure that the right people are getting that information. So, yes, I would, if you're a parent, go into Skyward. Make sure you have the right email address. Make sure you have the right phone number. And there's some people that their kids may have graduated. If they're still getting that phone call, let us know, and we will take you off that list. And there's actually even something on it now that says if you don't want to receive this anymore, you can push a certain number and things like that. So we want to make sure that people are that we're communicating with people.
Yeah. And one of the new features too, and I really haven't advertised this, but on our new website under communications, if you don't have a child in Anderson County, but closings affect your business or closing affects, you can subscribe to those updates and through the app as well.
Yes, and I think that's more too, because it does, especially if you're a daycare and if we're out of school, you may get 20 more kids, or maybe you do things like that. Yeah, you need to know about those things.
Yeah, since the beginning, Pam used to be the voice that called, and then Pam. I don't think Pam wanted to do it. She told me to do it then. Yeah. So from the time that you make the decision of closing school to the time that they get the message, really is more than likely about 5 to 10 minutes.
Yes.
It's not a long time period at all. We always update our social media very quickly. You do as well. So
we really, we really agonize over closing school, and it because our job is to educate kids, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure everybody's safe. So you're exactly right. We want to try to do it early. I would rather call school off at 5 o'clock on a weekday, and with the real possibility of snow that night, than get up at 5 o'clock that morning and say, ooh, there's snow on the ground, we need to call school off. Because it's hard, parents have to scramble and things like that. We've had that question asked before. That's one of the reasons we don't go to school late. A lot of districts around will go 2 hours late and things like that. If we can't go at time, we're just not going to go, because it disrupts the family too much. You have students that get left out in the cold because they don't know the buses run late, or you don't pick up as many kids, so the buses are early, or the parents still have to go to school, and now the kids are left there alone for 2 hours. So to us, it's just not worth. It's not worth getting to school that late than to have a kid hurt or have one misplaced or something like that.
And it's a big process too. I think we've tried to pull the curtain back from it before. We have a transportation coordinator, a transportation director, bus contractors, yourself, that runs the roads.
Yes.
They're looking. We know what the trouble spots are that we're looking at, and you make the decision based on those and meteorologist forecasts.
Yeah. And then I've always got a lot of students that will send me things and say, oh, we need to call school off. There's a lot of snow at my house, and they'll send me pictures from all over the world. So it's good. I want to be that person that they feel comfortable with doing that.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. So one of the last things we're going to talk about today is employment in Anderson County and the numbers and jobs we have available. We've got some jobs available. I looked at them right before this. We've got a lot of coaching positions. Baseball coaches, we've got some softball coaches. I took the cross-country middle school position because my son is going to do that, so I'll be the cross-country coach next year. We've got positions that need to be filled, so if they do visit our website, acs.ac, and click on jobs, they can find those. Anything from a position in the cafeteria to a cafeteria monitor, look at those jobs.
Yes, I think that especially if you're somebody that's seeing this and you're a science teacher or a math teacher or an English teacher or a teacher, we'll have openings, and we hire all the time. And like you say, especially with our cafeteria workers, with our custodians, and I think what people don't realize is that maybe the pay's not, you say, oh, well, they don't pay. But there's a retirement. There's a defined retirement system. They get a sick day a month. There's a lot of benefits to that. You get a lot of your insurance paid for. You get sick, again, you get sick time. If you're a 260-day employee custodian, you get 13 days vacation to start with and things like that. So we have a lot of good things out there that we can offer them. So yeah, I think those are the things that make Anderson County a great school system. If I could, one thing I want to talk about too, just that I think you had the question and I got this question, is what are we doing to help these students that have been out, because we know that there's been some learning loss. And one of the things through our ESSER funding that we've started is called Tennessee All-Cores. And so we've got 66 tutors in our elementary and middle school now, and they tutor students in the morning, they tutor students during the day, they tutor them after school. And I think that's where we can really dig in to individualize that learning for that student, what they've missed, and help them get caught back up. So we're excited about where that's going to go. Summer school, we're still going to have summer school. If your child is behind, if they need some catch-up work, summer school is going to be in elementary, middle, and high school. We want to make sure that we give the students the extra help they need, because we don't want we want to be successful when they graduate. Well, now's the time to do that, trying to get them caught up. So we've used a lot of our ESSER funds for that. We've used a lot of our ESSER funds to do capital outlays. A lot of it was with nursing, a lot of extra support in the elementary schools. If our parents may not know, we've put just about have an assistant in every classroom now in K through 5. And so those are things we've tried to do. We've tried to really be frugal with that money, not spend it on things that in 30 days we're not going to use them.
Sure. That's great. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Parrott, for joining us today. This broadcast will be live, as well as if you would like to watch it later or on demand, you can visit andersoncounty.tv to watch it again or play back the section that you have the questions about. If you have any questions in the future that you would like addressed in one of these State of the School addresses, please email me at rsutton@acs.ac. Thank you for watching.